Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And as always, if you are a recurring viewer or a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support of my channel. I really appreciate you all being here today. I wanted to apologize for the incredibly long amount of time between uploads here lately. I have been fairly busy in my day-to-day life, and so I've been having to take a lot of my filming time and revert that rather to just my reading time in order to get the books read that I want to read. So I do apologize for that. However, I will continue to do my best of getting out videos whenever I can. And for instance, today I had a moment to sit down, so I thought I would go ahead and flip the camera on and get a video out for you. So I want to do a mix of a book haul as well as a standard weekend reading update. Over the last couple of days, I have acquired some new books, so I thought I would show those first, and then I would go over what I finished reading and what I am currently reading, as I have finished a book today. So I do actually have some material that warrants an update, which is exciting. So starting off first with the new books, the first is called The Purple Secret, Jean's Madness in the Royal Houses of Europe by John Rohl and Martin Warren and David Hunt. This is sort of a look into the genetics of the British royal family, the genetics sort of that went out through into the houses, the royal houses of Europe through Queen Victoria. I believe that particularly this book is looking at porphyria, which is the sort of genetic disorder that is believed to have caused King George III to sort of have his fits of madness, and I'm hoping that this will also then go into hemophilia, which of course plagued many members of the royal houses of Europe, but is most famous for being one of the causes of the entrance of Rasputin into the House of Romanov in Russia in order to treat the young Alexei, who was suffering from hemophilia. So I'm very much looking forward to this. It's a little bit outdated as far as the science goes, so I'm curious to see how it holds up through a modern lens. But whenever I get to this one, I'm sure I'll talk about it, because this is a subject that does fascinate me greatly. Then I have a novel, and that is The Sea by John Banville. And I don't know a whole lot about this other than what is listed on the back summary here. I'm not going to read that because you can look it up if you're curious, but it's a novel that I've been wanting to read for a while. It won the Man Booker Prize, so I'm very excited for this one. It's also not too long, so it would be nice to be able to sit down and read something that's a little bit shorter for once. I've been reading quite a lot of long books lately, and yes, it's 195 pages. So this would be a very nice sort of reprieve, maybe be able to finish it in a day or two. Next, I have a classic, and that is Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And this is one that I am familiar with the story, as I think a lot of people are, particularly as a kid through the Disney movie. I'm also a fan of the accompanying Disney Broadway musical, which is quite good. But I've never actually read the book. So I was in Barnes & Noble the other day, and I saw this on the shelf, and I thought, you know what, I should go ahead and pick this up, at least add it to my classics shelf at the least, and then get to it sometime soon and actually read it. I'm a big fan of Victor Hugo, so I feel like I should read this. And it's a powerful story too. Then I have Arthur Miller's The Crucible. And this is another one that, for some reason, I've never actually read it. And I have read a lot about it, and I have heard a lot about it, but I've never actually sat down and read it. And so, again, this is from the same Barnes & Noble trip as Hunchback of Notre Dame was from. I saw this on their Penguin Classics shelf, and I thought it couldn't hurt to get a copy, and I definitely want to get to this at some point. I'm not sure quite when. It's not necessarily a rush for me, but it's definitely one that I wanted represented on my shelves, so I was very happy to add that. Last for the book haul is TR, The Last Romantic by H.W. Brands. This is a chunker of a book. This is just a massive hardback, but I love the cover design of this one so much. I think it's fantastic. So I'm a big fan of H.W. Brands, and I've been reading a lot about Teddy Roosevelt lately. The last biography of him that I read was A Strenuous Life by Kathleen Dalton, and I talked about that one briefly on the channel. And it's currently my favorite single volume biography of Theodore Roosevelt. So I'm really excited to get to this one by H.W. Brands to see if this is going to replace Kathleen Dalton's A Strenuous Life as my favorite TR biography, or if she will remain in the #1 seat. So when I get to this one, I will certainly be talking about it, and I will talk about it in reference to the other TR biographies that I have read as well, just to be able to give that nice comparison. Then on to the reading update. So I am very excited because this morning I finally finished N.Wilson's The Victorians. This was my book of choice for the month of October. I wanted to read a non-fiction work for Victober, and so I thought, this is quite a chunky book. I will read this over the course of the month, and I pretty much made that goal. I was able to finish a couple days early, which I'm very excited about. I'm hoping to be able to get one other book read this month. That's going to push it, but I'm going to try. This was an absolutely fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. I felt that for the massive scope of the subject that N.Wilson was trying to cover, that he did an excellent job looking at the entire Victorian the entire Victorian period in 620 pages, which is not a lot at all for tackling such a broad subject matter. And I felt that he gave a good amount of attention to all the elements that I wished to see covered. I never felt like I wasn't being presented with a balanced narrative. I never felt like I was being sort of skimped out on a particular event and not being told what I needed to know. It's definitely very fast moving, especially when it comes to things like members of parliament or prime ministers or any sort of government officials, where there were many people doing lots of different things over multiple terms, and all of their interactions and the different campaigns that took place, things like that. A lot of that was very quick, as it has to be, because there's a lot to fit in. When it comes to the actual sort of elements of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert and the royal house and things like that, there really wasn't a whole lot in here. This is very much a study of the Victorian period as it was lived by the individuals comprising the period, and not by the rulers or the leaders sort of leading it. So it's very much about the people in the period. So I found that very interesting, giving me some insights, some perspectives that I had not read from, which was very interesting. It also gives a lot of attention to the imperialistic aspect of the Victorian period, looking into a lot of the English imperialism in India as well as in South Africa. It gives a fairly large amount of attention to the Boer War, which is something that I have not read much about other than in very brief passing. So I was really excited to be able to get a little bit of a broader understanding for some of the sort of imperialistic conflicts that took place in the Victorian period. I would highly recommend this to anyone who is a fan of Victorian England, or even anyone who just wants to dip their toe into Victorian history. I found this incredibly accessible and very enjoyable, very well written and constructed. It was just a joy to read. So I'm very happy that I picked this one for October. Also, it had been sitting on my history shelf for a very long time, just staring at me. So it feels good to be able to finally have it read. So that is what I finished reading, and that has been the majority of my reading this month. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I have been a little bit more busy than usual, and so my reading quantity has dropped off a little bit, but that's also because I'm trying to do a big push in quality over quantity. So I'm slowing my reading pace down intentionally because I'm really trying to make sure that I'm fully absorbing everything that I'm reading and coming away with actual lasting impressions of books and not just sort of a fleeting footprint in the sand. And I think that's working. I think it probably takes a while to make that transition fully into really slowing down and being able to fully process what I'm reading, but I'm trying to be very intentional about making that happen. So the last book that I want to show and talk about just very briefly, because I'm currently reading it, is Victoria by N.Wilson. Victoria, A Life by N.Wilson. I apologize for the glare too. This has a Mylar cover on it, so it's reflecting the light. So this is N.Wilson's biography of Queen Victoria, and this is another one that I've been wanting to read for a while, and I thought, it's still October, I have just a couple days here, and I did start this one on audiobook about maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and so that has helped because I'm on page 163, and it's not too long. I believe it's, let's see, I probably should have checked this beforehand. It is 575 pages, so I have a little over 400 pages, or a little under 400 pages left. So paired between listening to the audiobook and reading it, I do think there is a chance that I'll be able to finish this month. But this is N.Wilson's single volume biography of Queen Victoria. It's been very interesting reading it alongside his book on the Victorians. This obviously gives 100% of the focus to Queen Victoria and to the royal family. It's been excellent so far. I've really enjoyed the style and the pacing. Personally, this is probably one of my favorite Queen Victoria biographies that I have read so far. However, I have only read a handful, so I'm really not one to talk with any authority on that subject, but I am really enjoying this, and this will be my current read. Like I said, my dream would be to finish it before the end of the month. I really don't see that happening realistically. However, I will try, but this will be my currently reading for a while at least, and I'll talk about it more as I put other updates out. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you would like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now, and happy reading.